While the big national headlines can feel pretty overwhelming sometimes, some of the most inspiring stories are actually happening quietly at the local level. And today, we're diving into a prime example from Nepal, the Benighat Rorang Rural Municipality. It's a place that's showing everyone what's possible when a government really truly commits to its people.
All right, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with their incredible achievement, and then look at the huge mountain of challenges they had to climb. After that, we'll get into the really creative things they did in health and education, explore the solid governments that made it all work, and finally, see how this government is actually felt by the people it serves.
So, let's start with this. For the second year in a row, this one rural municipality has become this shining example of what local government can do in Nepal's federal system. They're basically setting the standard for everyone else.
And this really gets to the heart of it, right? The source material for this whole story kicks off with this incredibly powerful question, because it's not about politics or fancy theories, it's about real results. It's about people feeling a genuine, positive shift in their day-to-day lives. And that is exactly the story we're going to unpack.
So how do we actually know they're so good? Well, the measurement is this really tough government evaluation called LISA. You can think of it like a super detailed report card for local governments. It grades them on everything: financial management, public services, social inclusion, you name it. It's a really big deal.
And their grade? Number 1. For the second year running, Benighat Rorang has ranked first among all rural municipalities in the entire country. And they did it with a massive score of 91.75. So this isn't some one-off fluke. This is sustained, consistent excellence.
But here's the thing that makes this story so extraordinary. This top ranking didn't just happen in some easy, ideal environment. Not even close. To really get how incredible this is, you have to understand the context they're working in.
So let's paint a picture of the reality on the ground. We're talking about a remote area with really tough mountainous terrain. The population is mostly made up of marginalized Chipang and Tamang communities who faced systemic disadvantages for a long time. Poverty is everywhere, and for a lot of families, the food they can grow on their own land isn't even enough to feed them year-round. That's the starting line.
So with all that stacked against them, how in the world did they become number 1? Well, they didn't do it by sticking to the old playbook. They used creative, unconventional, and just deeply human-centered ideas to totally transform crucial services like health and education. And it all kicked off with this powerful idea, with an even more powerful name: Shiksha Kalagi Biksha Abhiyan, which translates to begging for education. They knew they had to have a residential school for kids from the most remote areas, but the budget just wasn't there. So instead of giving up, they went to the people. They launched this public campaign, rallying the entire community to raise money through donations and events.
And that campaign is what funded their big school initiative. What they did was brilliant. They merged a bunch of smaller, struggling schools into one central residential school. This way, they could give free housing, food, and education to around 200 students. It directly attacked the biggest problem. Kids just couldn't physically get to a classroom. Now they could.
They also knew that just building a school wasn't enough. You need buy-in from the community. And since most parents were working in the fields all day, the local officials, including the chairman himself, would go to their villages at night, after dinner, just to sit down and talk with them about why education was so important. I mean, that's real dedication.
So, did all that hard work actually pay off? Oh yeah, the results are just undeniable. In the big national exams, their students' performance shot up by 31% in a single year. That massive jump actually pushed them above the national average for the very first time.
Okay, now let's switch gears to health, because they were facing another massive problem. Children, especially in these marginalized communities, were suffering from severe malnutrition. And this wasn't just a policy issue. This was a life-or-death crisis they decided they had to tackle head-on.
Their solution was so simple and effective, they created a residential nutrition center. Here's how it works. A malnourished child and one of their parents are admitted together. For 3 whole months, they get free housing, proper nutrition, and medical care. And then, to help them succeed when they go home, the family gets 5,000 Nepalese rupees and some new clothes. It's an incentive, sure, but it's also a real helping hand.
And this isn't just some plan on paper, it's changing lives right now. So far, the center has already treated 76 children. That's 76 kids who've been given a healthy start and a foundation for a future they probably wouldn't have had otherwise.
Now, amazing projects like these don't just happen out of thin air. They have to be built on a rock-solid foundation of good governance. So let's pull back the curtain and look at the how behind all this success. It comes down to discipline, strong systems, and incredible teamwork.
Check out this number, 0. On a budget of 1.35 billion rupees, the municipality had 0 audit irregularities, what's known as shunya baruju in Nepali. To have perfectly clean books at that scale, well, it says everything you need to know about their financial discipline and their commitment to clean, transparent government. And they aren't just playing defense, avoiding mistakes. They're proactively building a better system from the ground up. To make sure everything is clear and consistent, they've actually created 102 of their own local laws. This gives them a predictable, rules-based framework for every single decision they make.
But beyond all the numbers and the laws, there's a really important human element. According to the people who live there, teachers and residents, one of the real secret ingredients is the enviable cooperation between the elected politicians and the administrative staff. They work together. That kind of teamwork is what turns good ideas into reality.
And that brings us to the final, and maybe most important piece of the puzzle. What does all this hard work actually mean? It means creating a government that is truly felt by its citizens. A government where good policies translate directly into better lives. So what does this success actually look like for a regular person in Benighat Rorang? Well, it looks like your kid doing way better in school. It looks like a healthy baby who has recovered from being malnourished. It means having a 24-hour hospital right there, so you don't have to make a long, expensive trip to a city for basic care. And maybe most of all, it's the feeling that the government is actually there for you, right on your doorstep.
The Chief Administrative Officer, Narmada Himyare, just nails it with this quote. She says that being number one isn't about checking boxes on a form, it's a reflection of their actual service to the people, their good governance, and the fact that they've built successful models that other places can now copy and learn from.
And that really gets to the bigger picture here. The story of Benighat Rorang is so much more than just a local success story. It's a potential blueprint for others. And it leaves us with one last big question to think about. What can the unwavering commitment of one small rural municipality teach an entire nation about the real, transformative promise of federalism?